Welcome back to some Animal Crossing New Horizons. I'm Dear Darling, and shall we see what's going on our lovely island of Fawnhallow today, where we'll be talking about, I don't know, apparently like the Oblivion, whatchamacallit, thing has come out. Like, I can't, remaster, that's a word, has come out. That's pretty exciting for those of you who are looking forward to playing it. I hope you have a good time, because I think it's literally like out. Don't quote me on that. I'm not actually 100% certain, so it might not be. But yeah. What else can we talk about? I've started playing a game called Wuthering Waves, which is known as a sort of like a Genshin-like sort of game. I guess I'll get into it in a second. I haven't played much of it, mind you, but good evening, everyone. Right now in Fawnhallow, it's 10:34 p.m. on Tuesday, April 22nd, 2025. Today's Phoebe's birthday. Happy birthday, Phoebe. Yeah, Wuthering Waves. It was, it's interesting because it came out, and obviously it takes strong inspiration from Genshin. But I think it came out probably before Xena Zone Zero, right? So I guess it would be more appropriate to say it has like a sort of like an action RPG style combat system. You know, I don't know. It kind of reminded me of something like Devil May Cry, but I guess without the combo part. But I also haven't played a lot of Devil May Cry, so I don't know if that's accurate. Anyway, not the point. But it's interesting, because it's a game as a service game, and I very much did hear about it when it was first released. There was a lot of promotion for it. Before we go visit Phoebe, we should get her a present. And I was very much curious about it, but then I heard that it wasn't like... I think on release, it didn't have an amazing reception, mainly because I heard that its narrative storytelling was not, like, incredible, and then I would say its character designs didn't, like, fully appeal to me. And those tend to be the more important things for me personally. But a friend started playing it, and I had a look now, and I was like, okay, you know, some of the characters I really love the character illustrations that they actually have in the game, compared to, like, I mean, Genshin's ones are very boring. In comparison, Star Rails are, like, kind of cool, but, like, they're not quite to the same level of those, like, really high fidelity kind of illustrations, which I'm like, this is really cool. So I'm at least going to give it a try. Why not? We'll see what happens. I don't know if I'll stick with it. I don't know if I won't. My friend has warned me that the beginning of the game, like the first story, is really not that good, but it gets better. And I'm like, okay, we'll see how it goes. I don't know how true that is, by the way. I've literally played like half an hour of it or something. I've made it to the city in the intro quest. I've made the leader, met the leader of that region. I can't remember what it's called. Her name's like Jinxie, right? Someone, I don't know. Anyway, that's our short 5-minute tangent. What should we talk about today? I don't know. I'm watching more Only Connect. Dropout released a new episode of Game Changer yesterday. It's a really good one, but they are knocking it out of the park, by the way, with this season. If every single one of these episodes has the level of quality that these first two episodes have, we are in for an absolute treat. I love the Game Changer series on Dropout. If you don't know, let me do a bit of shilling. Unpaid promotion. But it's basically a series by a company called Dropout, who basically used to be College Humor, where like improv comedians, kind of, or like comedians in general, are on a show where the rules of the show change every single time, and they are vastly different from episode to episode most of the time. But most recent one I won't spoil if you haven't seen exactly what it is, but it was a really cool concept. It was not what I thought it was going to be. Well, it was vaguely what I thought it was going to be, but not in the way I thought it was going to be. Because the way I thought it was going to be was... I thought the way that they ended up doing it would be like, that's just too impractical. Like, why would you even do that? But then they did it, so... what do I know? Yeah, what else can we talk about? I'm not sure. I feel like the Oblivion remasters... the biggest gaming news. Obviously, there's bigger other news. Not really much, which I have the ability to sort of comment on. Of course, but Pope Francis passed away. That was something which happened, I can't remember, like yesterday or Monday or something. Wait, yesterday was Monday, so I guess that does check out. Which is, of course, unfortunate news, and, you know, the death of anyone, and he was a rather progressive Pope, as I understand it. But again, I'm not very well versed with, you know, that sort of sphere of religious knowledge, so I don't really think it's fair or my place to comment really on that, except for rest in peace. So instead we're going to take a hard pivot into talking about, I don't know, the Oblivion Remaster, which is an interesting thing because Elder Scrolls Oblivion is something which definitely, I feel like, predates me a bit. Like, I'm not sure exactly when it came out, but I've never played it growing up, and I have no recollection of any of my friends ever playing of it growing up. If anything, I played Skyrim, kind of, growing up. I bought Skyrim not too long after it came out, maybe like a year or so or something. And it was my first Elder Scrolls game, and I played a surprising amount of it, despite the fact I've made like no progress in it whatsoever and have very little recollection of it. I don't know, I feel like it somehow didn't grip me as I expected to. Maybe I was just like wrong time to play it, wrong age, or I didn't really understand what I was getting myself into. Not like in a bad way, but like in a just I don't really know what sort of game was. But Oblivion is very much like I don't know anyone from my like classmates who played that game. And well, to be fair as well, not many of my classmates were big gamers. I was probably one who played the most games in my class. But when did Oblivion actually get released? I just pressed Control P to print something that is not what I wanted. Oblivion Elder Scrolls. Let us see. When were you released? Why does it not say in the summary? Released March 20th, 2006. Okay, that's actually a lot later than I thought. For some reason in my mind, I was like, it came out in like 2002 or something like that. But 2006, I would have been 9. Probably would have been a bit young to really be playing it. But when was Skyrim released? I feel like I was 15 when it came out, so I would guess that would be 2012. 2011, pretty close. That's not actually as big a gap as I thought. I thought there was a huge gap between Skyrim and Oblivion. But I don't know, Oblivion is very much something which people, like, adore. I don't know if it's to the same level that people adore Skyrim, but I don't know. I found it interesting. I saw there were teasers and stuff for the remaster, people having a really good time with it. But otherwise, I was like, I don't know, this is definitely something which sort of passes me by. I don't really get involved with that per se, but it's more like, how to put it? I don't know anything about it, so it's hard for me to really get swept up in that in general, I don't mean that in a bad way. I just mean that in a way where it's just like it's a shame, if anything. I don't share the same compassion's the wrong word, the joy that you or others might hold for it. But I did think it was a very, very cool thing where I saw I saw it being teased a while, and there was like, I think a live stream denoting details, and then in the live stream they were like, oh, it's available now on Xbox Game Pass, which is crazy. Like that was a fast, like, not turnaround. Obviously they had it planned for a while. It's not like they were like, oh, we remastered it in whatever several days. But to basically go with a trailer and then, hey, you can play it right now, that's certainly a level of rarity you don't see much nowadays anymore. I feel like it's much more common for people to, obviously hype things up and be like, hey, here's a teaser, here's, it's going to be released, within the next few months. I don't know what the actual sweet spot is for announcing something and then having it be released. Because there must be some sort of sweet spot, which is like, this is the most hype that can be generated from it. By if you do something like that, then like this is the peak moment where people are just like anticipating it the most, but it's not too long that people sort of get bored of it, Anyway, what I mean to say is that I think it's pretty cool. I don't know how good the remaster is. In fact, I've seen no images of it, but I know what Oblivion kind of looks like. And presuming, like, I know what Skyrim looks like. So if it's anything like generationally above Oblivion's Skyrim's level, it's probably going to look pretty good, right? I mean, it does look pretty good. The Oblivion remaster is already 17% off on Steam. What? Anyway, I mean, it's very much a trend, I think, for things to be remastered nowadays. Whether the remasters are justified or not, I don't know. But I mean, I would argue that in Oblivion's case, it very much feels like justification. I'm not here to critique, I suppose the industry as a whole for remastering or not remastering. I think it is great when it can bring something old into a beloved classic into a much more sort of modern age. But a lot of the times, certainly I'm sure there's a lot of business decisions which go under remastering just for like a re-release or just to sort of try and cash in like a second wave of hype, which is a bit of a shame. While there might be justifications as well, that doesn't mean that it's not underpinned by some sort of greedy, not manipulation, motivation. I don't know the case, and I think I'd be remiss if I started accusing any companies like that, because I don't know. I don't work in the industry. I've got no clue, to be honest. But I think remasters on the whole, I'm pretty for. There are a lot of classic games which, I'm going to be honest, I am very much someone who tends to be a little bit picky when it comes to aesthetics. So it's not like I will play a game and just be like, oh, despite that this game looks like it's very, not low quality, but it's definitely of a generation from before, way before me, I will fully admit that I have less motivation to play a game like that. I kind of like graphics being something much more modern, I suppose. Stylized is fine, because I think stylization holds up pretty well. Excuse me, but when it's, I think it's, when it specifically tries to go for like high fidelity level of graphics, and eventually it gets like overtaken. It's something which I guess I become less motivated, or there's less desire for me personally to play it. I don't know a good example. I think Until Dawn is actually one of the greatest examples, because I remember when it came out. No, sorry, not Until Dawn. Actually, Until Dawn had a very interesting remaster, which it was like panned, wasn't it? People did not like it because it got rid of a lot of the atmosphere in the game or something. I'm not really sure. Hold on, Until Dawn remaster. Remaster versus the original. I don't know. That seems like a graphical upgrade at the very least. I don't know if Until Dawn needed much of a remaster, to be honest. I'm not going to say it was like, I look at it and be the original and be like, wow, that's amazingly high quality or anything, but I don't think it's not aged that poorly yet. But maybe your mileage may vary. I don't know, but there's like Until Dawn, like, didn't Last of Us come with a remaster? I didn't realise Until Dawn was over a decade old between remaster. Okay, never mind. That's crazy. Maybe it's because it gets harder and harder to notice the upgrades in graphics, A decade ago from now is very different from the decade change from a decade ago, if that makes sense. But no, Heavy Rain, that was a game I was thinking of. Did this get remastered? Apparently it did. I wonder what it looks in remaster. Or how it looks in remaster. It doesn't look... I mean, it does look different. But not to the extent I expected, I suppose. I mean, Heavy Rain was a game where when it was released, I was like, whoa, this is like cutting edge technology and graphics. Look how realistic it looks. It's crazy. But then I'm sure if you look at it now, you play it now, you go like, oh, it's it's not terrible by any means, but I mean, I think nowadays what would people use to sort of like be like, this is amazingly realistic? I was gonna say Detroit Become Human. I'm not actually sure if that's what I necessarily mean, because I guess that's quite sort of like cyberpunky, but Detroit Become Human. I'm getting all my things confused. Detroit Become Human actually does look quite, good as well, but I'm sure it will also age quite poorly, as the nature of realistic looking graphics tends to do. I meant cyberpunk, but I can't remember what cyberpunk really looks like, so I don't know if that's actually a good description. Death Stranding, I think, had pretty good graphics, right? I don't know. Game with best graphics. I think people nowadays are not people. I think a lot of games sort of try and stray away from ultra realism nowadays. I think stylization is becoming a lot more popular, which is nice. I'm all for it. But if you're not for it, then fair enough. Everyone's got different tastes in the end. But yeah, remastering. sometimes it can be very, very good, I think, to sort of bring something into the modern era and make it reach a different audience. Especially for people like me who are picky and be like, you know, I'm sure you have nostalgia for the games that you played in, like, PlayStation, the PlayStation era. But it's not, I can't say I look at it and be like, yeah, you know, I want to play this because of the graphics right now. But who knows? Who knows? That is, I will fully admit that is just snobbery, I think, for my part. I'm not going to pretend that there is some sort of high level, refined reason. It is pure snobbery of me just looking at it and being like, I don't know. Graphics does mean a reasonable amount to me. And I think it'd be negligent for me to say, like, yes, no, it doesn't, or something. But not to the extent of ultra realistic graphics, of course, just to the extent of appealing, I suppose, to me. Which is, I think, hard to point down. So, yeah, and anyway, long and short of it is, like, I think remasters are kind of cool. And if you're enjoying the Oblivion remaster, fantastic. More power to you. And I hope it's as good as it is for your expectations. So I'm doing a thumbnail for it right now. How's the thumbnail art progressing? It's still pretty behind, you know. I've again, things have been rather busy. I haven't been able to work on it as much as possible. Although I did make some good progress a day or two ago. So something there. I'm gonna put the tag as time for an upgrade. An upgrade. I wonder what goes into a master. I wonder how much of, like, remasters are building from the ground up. You know, Final Fantasy VII, that was like a good candidate for a remaster, right? Beloved game in a franchise. Generations, probably old now. Like, the original one was released, what, 1998? Let's see. 1997. Darn, I was gonna say 1997, but I was like, no, I think it's 1998. So it's been, well, almost 30 years. Well, I guess about 25 years, I think, since the original came out for a remake. Perfect, you know, choice. It obviously was sort of like, the graphics are on a completely different level. So, I don't know, that's like a good remaster, isn't it? I wonder what would be considered like a really bad remaster. I don't know, it's hard for me to say, because a lot of the remastered games I didn't even play the original of. I think the only one I've been tempted with so far is, the Thousand Year Door. Thousand Year Door. Which is interesting because the graphics, I don't think, need much of a remaster because it's so stylized in the first place. It's not like the design choices really went out of style necessarily. And the upgrade of the graphics doesn't make too much of a difference. But I don't know how well received a remaster actually was. Excellent remake of an excellent game. Fair enough. Enough modern additions to make it feel fresh and new. Didn't know that. Been very tempted to buy it, and maybe play it, but who knows? Maybe that will happen. Probably it won't. Anyway, on that note, I'm going to round this episode off here. So if you have been watching, thank you very much. It's been Animal Crossing New Horizons, and I've been Dear Darling. Likes, comments, subscription, shares, greatly appreciated. Socials, Discord down below. Hope we can see each other again, but for now, it's our farewell. So until next time. Oh, that's not waving goodbye. Bye-bye for now.